So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Was King of Female Ninja and Harem. So let's start the series. It was late at night, and everyone in the village seemed to be at ease, as if nothing could disturb them. That is, until one person, Naruto, appeared to be the most out of place in the seemingly tranquil setting. This young, blonde boy was discovered running for his life toward the forest, and as he passed, you could hear the villagers yelling at him, "Get back here, demon, and we are going to finish the Yondame's job." Naruto is a 12-year-old boy with spiky hair and 3 vertical birthmarks in the form of whiskers on each cheek. He was dressed in a bright orange and blue jumpsuit that was just plain, "Kill me orange." He wore black ninja sandals and appeared to have a pair of tiny blue goggles on his forehead. For what felt like the 100th time, Naruto was running for his life. He was always perplexed as to why everyone detested him, as he had never done anything to them that couldn't be replaced or washed away. He was so engrossed in his thoughts that he failed to see how his surroundings were shifting into the shadowy corners of the woodland where he was seeking refuge. Since it was still early in the evening, Naruto chose to stroll around the forest to his favorite place for solace, the headmaster monuments, after seeing the shift in his surroundings and starting to calm down. He also managed to evade another beat for the 100th time in his life. When Naruto arrived on the scene, he discovered that he was in his favorite spot in the entire village. He wondered why the villagers detested him as he peered over the edge of his hero's face. He knew that he would be attacked on his birthday, October 10th, the day of the 9-beast attack 12 years prior, and that a pair of green, slitted eyes was hiding in the very woods he had just fled from, watching him with rapt attention. Just as Naruto had time to notice, he glanced over at the fox and saw that the small kit appeared to be only a few weeks old with white-tipped ears and a white-tipped tail. He was thinking when he felt the urge to turn around and saw himself face to face with a small orange and red fox with green, slitted eyes staring at him with open attention. After what felt like hours but was actually only minutes, the small kit approached Naruto and nestled into his lap, content to simply lie there. That is, until they heard a man scream, "Look, the demon found its own kind. Let's take care of the little demon and its pet right here and now." When he heard this scream, Naruto turned to face the clearing and saw that the group of people he had been fleeing from were staring at him with obvious contempt and hatred in their eyes. The little orange kit then leaped out of his lap and fled into the forest, leaving him with nothing else to do. As he continued to run, he saw that the kit was guiding him into an old, abandoned house that was out of sight of the village. Just as he was about to grab the fox and flee, he noticed that the little kit was running through what appeared to be a small dog door. Wondering why this house had a doggy door, Naruto crawled through it himself and emerged on the other side to find the kit staring at him with its head tilted to the side, waiting for him to eventually make it the rest of the way inside the house. Now getting a good look at the house, Naruto noticed something strangely familiar about this house. As he looked around, he found it to be a quiet, humble home with 10 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a living room, a kitchen that was all well placed in a 3-story country home with a basement that left Naruto to curiously wonder what was down there as it was seemingly locked tight. In the first 8 bedrooms, all Naruto found was what were normal, comfortable-looking, queen-sized beds with bedside tables, with lamps on them, dressers on the other side of the room along with what looked to be decent-sized walk-in closets. Then coming upon the 9th room, Naruto had a feeling of nostalgia as he walked into what must have been the master bedroom. The bed was a long, white, cotton king-sized bed. On both sides of the bed were more bedside tables. On one there was a picture of what appeared to be a young, pregnant, red-haired woman holding her stomach. Standing next to her was what appeared to be a tall, young, blonde-haired man with strong blue eyes that seemed like they were staring into your very soul. Naruto was unable to distinguish the sounds of a young voice speaking to him as he gazed at the image in a daze. Naruto was wondering who he was speaking to and how he didn't sense them when he entered the house as he said, "Huh? Hello? Who's there? I didn't know anyone lived here. I am sorry for intruding." He was thinking to himself when he failed to notice a young gray-blue wolf pup looking up at him with interested eyes. Naruto was about to say anything more when the young voice, a little louder this time, said, "Hello? I'm down here." Naruto was beginning to doubt his sanity when he heard the small voice ask, "Who are you and how did you get in here?" He was startled to glance down and see the wolf pup. Naruto said, "Okay, now I know I'm going crazy. I swear to Kami that this little wolf pup was talking to me," while he was looking at the puppy. "But I was talking to you," Naruto said, startled by the realization. He looked down on the pup once more and began to wonder how he was speaking to it until he thought of another question. "What are you doing here, little guy? Shouldn't you be with your pack?" Having learned enough about canine families from his classmate Kiba, Naruto knew that a young wolf pup wouldn't survive long on its own without a pack unless it was able to figure out how to get food and water on its own. "I wish I was, but not too long after I was born my pack was forced to leave me because of some hunters coming to collect our furs," the young pup said after hearing his query and turning back to face the floor. After hearing this, Naruto felt sympathy for the small puppy because he also lost his parents when he was a child. As he gazed at the now somber puppy, he wondered, "Why are you here and how did you find me?" "I was waiting for my friend here and I thought I smelt her when I was coming up here, and when I saw you I became curious because you still smell like her," stated Naruto, the young dog, in response to his question. Naruto made the decision to inquire, "What do you mean I smell her? And who are you talking about?" "And what he meant when he said that you smelled like me is that he means that you smell like a fox," Naruto said, looking around to find another young voice, though much softer, coming from the doorway. He was shocked to see the little orange fox kit he had been following earlier enter the room. Just as it was halfway to him, the kit chose to sit on its haunches and stare up at Naruto before it began to speak again. "What do you mean I smell like a fox? Until today I have never been around a fox. And why are you two here and why am I able to talk to you?" Naruto said, looking at the kit for a minute before he finally spoke out, perplexed by the comment. "We don't know why you smell like a fox or how you can talk to us, but we do know that we are here because we were both abandoned and have nowhere else to go," the kit said in response to the second question, which the pup and the kit were now also wondering why he had a fox scent. It concluded with a somewhat depressing tone. "So they're like me. They're lonely and don't have any other family." Naruto thought sorrowfully as he recalled something he had heard about the Inuzuka and their Ninkin dogs while out on the street a few weeks prior. He had no idea how he had heard them, despite the fact that he had always had a sense of smell and hearing that was on par with, if not better than, most of the members of the Inuzuka clan. "If you two want you could always come and stay with me in the village," he decided. The pup and the kid agreed that they would finally have someone, as if in response to their desire to escape their loneliness. When he thought about it, Naruto had no idea how to train Ninkin. He decided to go see the old man, knowing that he probably had a book on it or something, but when he looked out the window, he saw how long he had been at the house talking to the young kit and pup. The sky had turned completely black, and he realized that it was too late to try to walk home at this point, especially since he didn't know if the villagers were still pursuing him. Seeing no other choice, Naruto decided that he could speak with the headmaster tomorrow. The kit and pup sprawled out on one of the other beds in the house, and Naruto slipped beneath the sheets before rapidly losing consciousness. Immediately following his unconsciousness, Naruto appeared to be in what appeared to be an old sewer with big blue pipes running up and down the walls. Between those pipes were much larger red pipes that appeared to be coming from the same direction. Naruto chose to follow the pipes to their junction and ended up standing in front of what appeared to be a huge gate with no obvious top or end while standing in about 4 inches of water. Naruto looked around and saw that the gate had a tag of some kind on the entry where a lock should be. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that the tag had the kanji character for seal on it. "So my container finally decides to pay me a visit." Looking inside the bars, Naruto is startled to see 2 big, crimson, slitted eyes staring back at him. Deciding he wanted to know what was happening, Naruto asked, "Who are you and where am I?" "We are in your thoughts, my simple-minded container. To respond to your second query, I am the all-powerful almighty 9 beasts, not Kitsune." The powerful fox roared as it gazed down at the startled Naruto's shell. "How can you be the beast of the 9? The 9 beast was slain by the Yondaime." Naruto screamed, refusing to believe that the 9 beast was still alive. "What a moron. You can't think that the truth was withheld from you for your own benefit, can you? The Nine Beast watched in laughter as the words flitted across Naruto's mind as he attempted to comprehend what the great fox had just informed him. The Yondaime just sealed me in a child, and that child just so happens to be you, Kit. The glares, the beatings, the rejection, they all make sense now. But I know I am not the fox. How can they not see that? Was a lot of what this explained to Naruto. He was ready to say something when he heard Naruto's voice, and the Nine Beast watched as these thoughts ran through his mind, attempting to predict how he would respond to the news. They're stupid. What kind of kit was it? The Nine Beast inquired, still attempting to ascertain the blonde child's response because his hair obscured his eyes in the shadows. They're dumb, I said. They treated me like a demon because of what's in me, but they don't even try to get to know me thinking that I was just you. Naruto screamed, finally raising his head to reveal the fire and resolve in his eyes. They would understand that I am no more a powerful demon than you are a small house cat if they weren't so dim-witted. So what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to sit around and take it, or are you going to show them how wrong they are and show the world that you are no longer its puppet? The Nine Beast asked, startled by his response. Naruto stood erect, pondering what to say, and gazed directly into the enormous demon's eyes. I'm going to use my own strength to show them who they're messing with and how different I am from you. I shall prove to them that I am a fierce protector and that I will do everything in my power to keep this village safe. I'm going to become the strongest headmaster ever and surpass everyone who came before me. Have faith. Good. Don't let go of your dreams and show them the true power of the Nine Beasts' Jinchuriki. The Nine Beasts smirked as Naruto concluded his tirade. As he did so, the Nine Beasts saw that the sun had begun to rise in the east, indicating that a new day would soon arrive. The physical form of Naruto shimmered back into his own reality as soon as he said, "Now go, Kit. A new day is coming, and it is time to show your true potential." The Nine Beast had one final thought before he finally returned to his rest. Go show them your potential, Kit. Show the world what it means to mess with the great Nine Beast no Kitsune. When Naruto woke up, he saw the figures of the sleeping Kit and Pup before turning to face the rising sun. Recalling that he had to visit the headmaster this morning, he got up to retrieve the Kit and Pup before returning to his apartment to shower. He was pleased to see that not many people were awake yet, so he was not getting many glares on his way home. When he finally arrived at his apartment, he checked to make sure everything was how he had left it, and he was relieved to find that everything was fine. He didn't live in the best of places, to be sure, but it was still his and he was proud of it. He looked around and realized how many things he still needed to fix, like the peeling and chipped paint on the walls, the rusty nails holding loose floorboards, the instant ramen cups scattered on the floors with clothes, and his lumpy old mattress that needed to be replaced, repaired, or cleaned. I almost forgot to ask, what are yours and the pup's names? He sighed as he rummaged through his things and saw the Kit begin to wake up. He then decided to ask her a question he had neglected to address during their encounter the day before that he inquired inquisitively, recalling that he had not discussed anything with them yesterday. Just before she responded, he turned to see the little Kit's head droop. We never learned our names before our previous families abandoned us, she said. Naruto looked at them with sorrowful eyes and furrowed brows, trying to think of a way to solve this straightforward issue. As he continued to think, he eventually smiled a little and offered, "How about I name you two then? Then how about this, I will name you," he said, pointing to the little orange Kit, Akajima, Red Streak, and you, as he pointed to the small blue-gray wolf pup, Gyurfosu, Gray Force. Observing the tiny expression of happiness and hope in the young Kit's eyes as the young pup was finally beginning to stir. The little Kit and Pup gave him a brief look before acting and jumping on him, happy to finally be named after all this time, from their perspective. They remained in this position until Naruto got up, picked up Akajima and Gyurfosu, and put them in his jacket so he could walk to the headmaster's office. He finally left for his first destination of the day after gathering the remaining materials because he had to travel to the academy following his meeting. As he waited for paperwork, the bane of his and every other Kage's existence, the third headmaster student, the Sandaime headmaster, was thinking about his favorite blonde knucklehead through the window. His moment of wondering what the boy was doing was short-lived, though, because he looked up when he heard his door thrown open and saw his favorite blonde, orange-wearing knucklehead on the other side. The third headmaster was an elderly man with short white hair who wore a red robe that extended past his feet and a red and white hat with the kanji for fire in the center. In his heyday, the proud man was known as the Professor or the God of Shinobi, and he was respected and well known throughout all of the elemental nations for being a strong and intelligent individual who was well known for promoting the will of fire to the new and upcoming genin of each year. Hey Naruto, how may I be of use to you today? Don't you remember that today is your day to attend the academy? The third headmaster inquired in a gentle tone as he concentrated on the lone other individual present. After a minute of staring at the elderly headmaster, Naruto unbuttoned his jacket to reveal a small, fuzzy orange and gray ball rolling onto the desk just in front of the third headmaster student. As the kit and pup got up, the third headmaster, wondering what was going on, looked at Naruto and said, "So, Naruto, I see you have some little pets. Now will you please tell me why they are here and what you want?" He was about to ask Naruto when he noticed the orange ball sprawling out and blinking at him with small slitted green eyes. He thought the orange ball was actually a little fox and turned to see that the gray ball unfurled to reveal that it was, in fact, a small gray wolf pup with small brown eyes. The third headmaster looked at him for a moment before replying, "I found these two in a house on the headmaster monuments last night while I was exploring the forest. I found out that I could somehow talk to them and ask them if they wanted to come with me and name them Akajima and Gyurfosu. I wanted to know if you had any books or anything on how to train normal animal into ninkin, and if you knew how I was able to talk to them." Sighing, the third headmaster student realized that at least some of this explanation would be useless because he didn't know much other than that it wasn't a Kekai Genkai from either of his parents, so it most likely had something to do with his tenant. As he prepared to respond, he heard the boy say something he wasn't prepared to hear yet. "I know about the fox." He had to answer one question first. "Who told you and how long have you known?" The third headmaster student was bewildered. The boy knew about the fox? Since when has he known? How does he think of the whole thing? Sighing, Naruto needed to finish this quickly. "I found out last night, after I talked to Akajima and Gyurfosu, I fell asleep and found myself in my mind talking to the fox about my seal and what I am going to do with my new knowledge." The third headmaster was now intrigued because, in addition to talking to the fox, the boy also kept his feelings to himself, unlike what he had assumed Naruto would do. His curiosity grew as the boy described his conversation with Nine Beast until they reached the point of Naruto's response, and he was pleased to learn that the boy only saw himself as the container and not the demon. "I informed him that I would simply need to disprove the villagers' beliefs, demonstrate my superiority, and use all of my strength to defend them. I would have to show them that I am not the demon, but rather Naruto, the one and only Jinchuriki to the nine-tailed demon fox, the nine-beast no Kitsune, and I would demonstrate my determination to be the best headmaster and strongest ninja in history. Have faith." He spoke with such ferocity and resolve that the third headmaster could only have faith in the youngster, knowing that nothing could stop him from succeeding. Thinking about what Naruto just said made third headmaster say the first thing that came to his mind. "Naruto, I only want you to know that I am proud of your decision and support you all of the way." Thinking about what Naruto asked him about the talking to the fox and wolf and the request for a scroll on how to train ninkin, the old man got up from his desk and walked over to one of the shelves and pulled down a scroll before handing it to Naruto. "Naruto, this is a scroll on how to train ninkin from normal animals. As for the talking to the animals, I can't think of a single Kekai Genkai that allows that. The closest one I can think of is the Inuzuka's more focused hearing and enhanced sense of smell, but they still can't talk to their partners, so I would consider talking to the Nine Beast about the possibility of it giving you a Kekai Genkai when it was sealed into you to see if he was the cause. Other than that, I have nothing other to offer you than to say good luck, and I know you can do it." The headmaster finished with a proud smile and his hand on the boy's shoulder before walking back to his desk. He turned around at his desk before seeing that Naruto was still there looking at him with a sheepish grin and a hand scratching the back of his head. "Naruto, did you require anything else?" The third headmaster student inquired as to what else the boy desired. "Hehe, I was just wondering if you could accompany me quickly to get some new clothes before returning to the academy. I really don't want to be overcharged, and I love my jumpsuit, but I reasoned that if I was going to start acting more seriously, I would need something that wasn't a sign that said, "Hey, come murder me. When I go on missions, I'm a fool, am I not?" After concluding that the youngster had a valid point, the third headmaster dismissed him back to the academy to finish the day. He was pleasantly surprised to see that Naruto would be taking this seriously from now on. Irika Umino, the class sensei, was beginning to fear that a certain blonde knucklehead would know exactly what yesterday was as the pupils at the academy were returning from their lunch break to begin their new set of classes. One of the few people in the Leaf Village who don't view Naruto with hatred and contempt is Irika Umino, a 22-year-old central ninja of the village hidden in the leaves. He is a medium-sized brown man with dark eyes and a scar across his nose that symbolizes what can happen on the battlefield in the shinobi world. He understands and feels that Naruto is not the fox and ought to be treated like a regular human. He was about to start the lesson with increasing anxiety when he heard the all-too-familiar sound of the door opening. He was going to turn around and welcome the newcomer when he noticed the golden blonde hair. He was about to scream at the blonde when he glanced at him once more and stopped. Hinata Hyuga, a short, dark, blackish blue-haired, shy, gentle girl with two short bangs that shape her face, was another person who was worried about our favorite blonde and wondered where he was. She is known as the Hyuga clan heiress and is seen by her clan as a true weakling and failure who exhibits too much kindness. She wears a light beige jacket to hide her early developed body. Before she could worry any further, however, she heard the door open and turned to face it. As she did, she developed a massive flush that her classmates would always refer to as Hinata Red. However, the reason she blushed wasn't because someone was at the door. Rather, it was because Naruto was there, and he was surprisingly not wearing his Kill Me orange jumpsuit. No, Naruto was wearing a new outfit that no one had ever seen him in. His hair was still spiky and hung just above his eyes, but he had given up his goggles and switched to dark blue ninja slacks that ended just before his ankles. He also took off his orange and blue jacket and only wore a black muscle shirt with a burnt orange swirl on the front. Overall, he looked much better, and the students were surprised to see that the dead last actually had some muscle beneath his dumb orange jumpsuit. You could see Mizuki, Irika's teacher's assistant, glaring at Naruto with obvious contempt and disgust as he entered the classroom, which he quickly covered up. Mizuki, a white-haired central ninja of about Irika's age, donned the same dark blue ninja pants that other Leaf Village shinobi wear, along with Irika's standard-issue central ninja flak jacket and long-sleeved blue shirt. Before he could take his usual seat, Sasuke stopped Naruto. He looked at Irika and realized he was going to ask a question, so he waited for him to respond and then sat down. "Where have you been all day, Naruto? The first part of today's classes was missed by you. If you're more than 3 hours late, you had better have a good cause." Irika yelled, expecting Naruto to whine, complain, and become irate, saying that he simply didn't feel like coming in today. However, what he didn't anticipate was that when Naruto responded, he not only didn't whine, complain, or become irate, but he also looked directly into Irika's eyes and answered him in a composed manner. "I was discussing a few things with the old guy headmaster when he accompanied me to get some new clothes because I no longer felt like going about in a jumpsuit that said, 'Hey, murder me. I'm a fool.'" In the end, he concluded by speaking more quietly so that only Irika could hear him, so he agreed to go with me to get some new clothes at a fair price. Irika was shocked not only that Naruto had changed his clothes, but also that he had not only planned ahead enough to have the headmaster accompany him to get new clothes, but that he was at the headmaster's office without risk of being caught pulling a practical joke. This made him wonder what he needed to discuss with him. As he was thinking this, a small orange head appeared on the top of Naruto's shirt and made a loud yawn. He was unsure of what it was until it leaped out of his shirt and onto Naruto's head, at which point he realized it was a small orange fox kit. "Why are you carrying a small fox, Naruto?" When the class heard this, they all turned back to look at the blonde and the small kid on his head. It took all of the girls' self-control not to yell "cute" and give the poor little fox a glomp. "Oh, her? She is only one of the 3 things I needed to discuss with the old man, replied Naruto. He knew that he still had a lot to discuss with the headmaster that he couldn't bring up in front of the typical villager population. So he put that aside for the moment and took out the stirring Gyurfosu to show Irika. And this little guy was number 2, he said. The next thing they knew, Gyurfosu had vanished, and Sakura and Ino were yelling and fighting over the miserable puppy in the corner. Sakura Haruno, a young, long-haired girl with pink hair, wears a long red dress in the Chinese style with a small slit on the sides that still allows her to move if she needs to run. She used to talk a lot with her old best friend, Ino Yamanaka, until they realized they were both pursuing the same boy, Sasuke Uchiha, for their affections. She is from the renowned clan of Mindwalkers, which was well known for their interactions in the Leaf's INT department. Ino Yamanaka is a small, platinum blonde girl with a ponytail and a single large bang that shapes the left side of her face. She was wearing a purple skirt and a short-sleeved, loose-fitting shirt. She had bandages on her thighs and stomach, and she had long white arm warmers that extended from her wrists to just above her elbows. Ino Pig, he's mine. No, my forehead girl owns him. In an attempt to play peacekeeper and avoid going deaf from the incessant yelling, Irika said, girls, I don't think he is either of yours. Why not Irika-sensei? Sakura snorted as she held the helpless puppy in her death grip as it struggled to remain conscious. Naruto moved to remove the puppy from Sakura's arms, but she turned around and snorted. Because he's mine, Sakura, he remarked. Why would he choose me to be his owner instead of a loser like you? At least I have parents, so I could feed him every day, she screamed. As soon as she was done, the room's temperature dropped, and everyone looked at Naruto, who had his hair falling over his eyes, to see how he would react. That was a low blow, Sakura. Naruto's voice was so low and cold that it sent shivers through the class. And the reason I said that he is mine instead of yours is because I am the one who found him, and if you put him down you would see that he would rather be with me than a screeching bitch like you. He concluded in a stern tone of voice that was unusual for the often cheerful, blonde knucklehead. They had never heard him disparage Sakura in this manner, or even previously. Wasn't this the same lad who had a thing for the pink-haired banshee? Everyone in the class was staring at him as if he had grown a second head. Irika wasn't sure what to think at the moment, wondering if he should be angry at Naruto for interrupting a lesson and using such foul language in front of the class or proud of him for finally standing up for himself. Ultimately, he chose to do nothing and watch Sakura drop the puppy as Naruto picked him up and went up to his usual seat next to Sasuke, who was watching the entire scene with mild interest. Sasuke Uchiha, who is 12 years old like the other students in his class, is from the once powerful Uchiha clan, which was massacred 4 years ago by his older brother, Itachi Uchiha, the Uchiha prodigy. He wore a dark blue shirt with the Uchiha clan crest, which was a red and white fan shape on his back, and his brunette hair, which Naruto would describe as having a duck-butt shape, along with white shorts and a pair of arm warmers with blue trimmings that fell just past his elbows. Irika sighed and made the decision to get on with the lecture. As they went along, Irika wasn't sure what to think of the way that Naruto was acting during the lessons. Rather than sleeping and not paying attention as was considered normal, he was calm and attentive and basically dragged in every word that was said to him throughout the day. However, as soon as the lesson ended, he was back to his normal knuckle-headed self, yelling, telling jokes, and saying that he would be the greatest headmaster ever. For the remainder of the day, no one spoke, and the classes went without incident. Naruto wasn't nearly as loud and appeared to be trying harder, as evidenced by his target practice scoring a 6 out of 10 for both kunai and shuriken. Irika couldn't figure out what had changed in the tiny knucklehead, but whatever had sprung into Naruto's head seemed to have put him into overdrive. This new Naruto was a mystery to him, yet he didn't change at all. In retrospect, he was glad that the well-known knucklehead was now putting his skills to the test. Irika could honestly claim that he was eager to see what his actual abilities were, but just now, everyone's favorite Ninja Academy sensei was only thinking about one thing. Whatever you did, Naruto, I hope you are happy because you made us proud to know that you have finally decided to act. Please, show this naive village their faults and show them what you are really like, Show them your potential and show them what this village means to you, because I can honestly say, Naruto, I am proud of you and I believe that you can do anything you can put your mind to. Many months have gone by since that devoted day when Naruto started working on himself to prove to the world that he would no longer be weak. At the moment, he was leaving the academy while speaking with his friends Shikamaru Nara, Kiba Inuzuka, and Choji Akimichi during his final week there. Another 12-year-old boy from Naruto's class, Kiba Inuzuka, had short, spiky brown hair and slitted black eyes. He had 2 tattoos of red fangs on his cheeks directly beneath his eyes, which were a sign that he was a member of the Inuzuka clan. He was dressed in a gray coat with fur trim, black pants, and blue shinobi sandals. His Ninkin partner, Akamaru, a small white dog with a black nose, was in his hood, perched atop his head. Another of Naruto's classmates is Choji Akimichi, a plump boy with red swirls on each cheek and spiky brown hair. He wears a green jacket over a white t-shirt and a white scarf around his neck. He also sports dark blue shorts and shinobi sandals, and he always seems to be holding a bag of barbecue. On the other hand, Shikamaru Nara is a lazy boy with pineapple-shaped hair. He is dressed in brown slacks with tape on his right leg, blue shinobi sandals, and a black mesh top with a little jacket that is open halfway down his chest. When Naruto noticed a familiar fragrance approaching from behind him while they were conversing, he decided to act on the scent and initiate a conversation with his friend. Naruto casually remarked, "You know, Kiba, your sister is pretty hot," as he looked forward and smiled in his mind at what was most likely going to occur. "That dope, what was it?" Kiba gave his blonde companion a suspicious look in response, saying, "I don't think I heard that right. What I said was that I think your sister is hot. I mean, it's not like it isn't obvious," Naruto reflected. "And this is going to be so worth it." Kiba spoke the words, "You better take that back, Dobe. Hannah isn't hot. Hell, I don't even know if there is a normal guy out there that finds her attractive," before considering trying to sniff his surroundings for recognizable odors. "Is that correct, little brother?" From behind Kiba, a recognizable female voice remarked in a sickeningly lovely tone. "So, could you please explain why that is?" When Kiba turned around, a deep sense of dread crept over him. His 14-year-old sister Hannah was staring at him with a sickeningly sweet smile that made him uneasy. But if you looked closely, you could see the tiny flicker of fire in her eyes that threatened to make him answer her questions. A young woman named Hannah Inuzuka has brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, with a small bang in front of each of her large brown eyes. She wears the standard-issue Central Ninja flak jacket with blue shorts that fall just above her knees and blue shinobi sandals. She also has red fang-like tattoos on her cheeks that resemble Kiba's to indicate that she is a member of the Inuzuka clan. Turning around, Kiba felt as though Naruto had just let him down. "I fucking hate you, Naruto," he said, turning back to Naruto with a deadpan expression. "I love you too, Kiba," Naruto said, grinning cheekily and sarcastically. "Now, make sure Hannah doesn't kick your ass too hard. Don't want her hurting her lovely hands and cracking that thick skull of yours." "I didn't mean it, Hannah, really, I was just trying to get him to drop the subject. I don't think you are inapproachable at all. I think you have always been beautiful," Kiba said stutteringly as he flipped Naruto off one last time. Kiba suddenly feared for his safety because his sister appeared to be staring at him with a mischievous glint in her eyes. The same sweet voice that Hannah used to say, "Sure, whatever you say, little brother. I know you didn't mean it, because if you did, I might not be too happy about it," caused every male in the room to shiver in fear for a moment, genuinely feeling anxious for their gullible, wild friend. In an attempt to pull his friend out from under the bus, Kiba plunged himself under, and Naruto added, "Oh, he didn't mean too much by it, Hannah. He wasn't thinking before talking. You are quite attractive if I had to give my own opinion," failing to notice the little flush on Hannah's cheeks. Hannah, still trying to hide her slight blush, said, "Oh, it's okay, Naruto. I'll make sure he knows he didn't mean it. Besides, it's pretty fun beating his ass every once in a while," as she spoke to the blonde academy student. "I guess I should do my job and get this little run home safely. See you later, Naruto," she said. Naruto turned back to look at his shocked buddies, grinning as the two walked away, Kiba gazing daggers at him. Geez, Naruto, did you have to get him in such deep trouble with his sister? I mean, really, you didn't have to push him so far. Why was he so defensive about her being hot anyway? Shikamaru was just wondering what had happened, knowing full well that his friend was a known prankster. It seemed that he was the only one who noticed that the young Inuzuka woman had a slight blush while speaking to Naruto. He planned to find out what that was all about until Choji spoke first. I don't know, ever since the first time I met her he's been like that, I don't know why. He said something about my presence did something to some of his clan members. Naruto replied in a similarly perplexed tone. With curiosity, Shikamaru asked, well, what I want to know is why Hana was blushing when she was talking to you. Adding, I mean, it's not like you said anything embarrassing or perverted. I don't know, one day I went to the Inuzuka compound to look for Kiba and passed by a few girls around our age that blushed as I walked by. Yet when I walked by most of the guys around our age, they growled at me and told me to keep moving. Now that I think about it though, I never did find out about all of that, Naruto said with a sincere voice that he actually had no idea. Really, Naruto, are you really that dense? Even I know that Inuzukas look for an alpha male presence in a companion along with decent looks and a personality. The girls blushed from your presence and the guys growled because you were stepping on their territory. Shikamaru gave Naruto another deadpanned expression after hearing his explanation. Choosing not to express his opinion, Shikamaru then asked another question that had been on his mind for a short while. Besides Naruto, I thought you still had a crush on Sakura? Naruto's casual tone caused his buddies to gape. Nope, I got over her months ago. For at least a little while I just plan on focusing on my training and hoping to make genin so that I can work my way up to headmaster. He replied without even the slightest doubt in his voice. Choji was the first to get better and decided to ask Naruto for more information. Really, Naruto, I mean, you used to ask her out every day only a few months ago. What happened that made you decide to alter your mind? Choosing to reflect on it, Naruto replied to Choji seconds later in an even voice. I think I just realized that I would never be with her. Besides, now that I think about it, I don't even really know what I saw in her. I mean, she screamed at me for talking to her, hit me over the head, and won't stop talking about Sasuke. She isn't even that great looking. I mean, hell, I can think of at least 3 girls I know that look better than her now that I think about it. I mean, we've all seen Hana. And she is obviously more attractive than her. So I just decided I didn't want to be with her and moved on. There are many better women out at the world anyway. How do you think our last week in the academy is going to be? Choji asked, deciding to change the topic after being surprised by how easy he put Sakura off. Do you believe that the tests will be challenging? Shikamaru looked up at the clouds and remarked, it's the work I'm not looking forward to. It's too troublesome to worry about. It should be easy enough to pass. Shika is right. It's going to be a breeze. Besides, let me let you guys in on a little secret of mine, Naruto said as he leaned into their ears. I haven't even been trying the last few months. I wanted to surprise the instructors with how much I've improved over the last few months. I've been practicing at the place I found a few months ago with Akajima and Gyurfosu. Negro just said, my own little home away from home. I decided to hide all of my training there. When Choji, stunned, asked where. Either way, I will see you guys later. I have some important stuff planned for the rest of the day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow at the academy. Don't let the teachers know I was holding back. It won't be as funny. Bye. The blonde announced as he turned around and left, waving behind his back. Shikamaru decided to voice his own view before departing, turning back to his plump companion, saying, he truly is something else, you know that? He has changed so much in the last few months. He is truly a mystery. Oh well, there's no point in thinking about it right now. I'll see you tomorrow, Choji. After giving a stupid nod and considering what he had just heard, Choji turned around and left, deciding he was too bewildered to consider things at the moment and that he should simply head home. As Naruto arrived at the house he had discovered a few months prior, he made the decision to return to the training grounds he had discovered while looking for more food a few weeks prior. The training ground was a large space with a number of wooden posts with bullseyes painted in the center of them and a large open space that appeared to have been used for Nin spirit art practice. After some searching, Naruto eventually located what he was looking for. He approached what appeared to be a random tool shed in the middle of nowhere, But what people didn't realize was that Naruto had asked the Sandaime to paint a piece of art on the building to make it appear to be an old and dilapidated tool shed when, in fact, it was a sizable warehouse that he had constructed so he could store his collection of scrolls. Unbeknownst to everyone but the third headmaster, Naruto was anything but stupid. He would gather any scroll and weapon he could find in good shape, including ones about cooking, biology, anatomy, nin spirit art, ken spirit art, and tai spirit art. His weapons ranged from the commonplace, like clubs, war hammers, and battle axes, to the uncommon, like ninja wire, shuriken, and ninja wire. Naruto would come here every night to train his target, read new tai spirit art styles, and do exercises. He discovered that he was very good at tai spirit art styles like the Iron Fist and a style he created himself called the Fox style. So he went out and, for once, used his own money to purchase a set of weights that increase in strength if you add core energy to them. It's not that he wasn't good at that, he just thought that more would help with his tai spirit art styles. Using the books that the third headmaster student gave him, he had also been training Akajima and Gyurfosu. He stated that he needed to send a tiny bit of his core energy to them each day to help them develop stronger core energy pathways so they could climb trees and step onto water like regular ninja. In order to save money, Naruto was also able to locate certain scrolls on Fuin Spirit Art, which helped him learn how to create his own storage scrolls and explosive tags. I see you there, Akajima. You and Gyurfosu might as well come out. We aren't going to be training for a few hours. There was some stuff I wanted to look through first, Naruto said after checking around a little and finding what he was looking for. He then grabbed a few scrolls from the racks before leaving his library and turning on his Gen Spirit Art again. Hearing some rustling, Naruto turned to the left and saw Gyurfosu emerge from the woods with a small rabbit in its mouth. He then heard more rustling, and straight ahead, Akajima emerged with another rabbit. As he looked at them, he saw how much they had changed over the previous 6 months or so. They were only slightly longer than 8 inch and 6 high, but now they were about 18 long and 1 foot high. Recovering from his thoughts, Naruto decides to speak. Hey guys, today I was going to look through some stuff I have had questions about for a little while now. You guys can either come with me later when I go to ask the old man about it after I start reading, or you can stay here and keep practicing your tree walking exercises. We decide we are going to walk with you to see the Sandaime. We have been stuck up here for too long, so it should be interesting going into town, Akajima said after they had been staring at him for a moment and nodding to one another. While reading a scroll he discovered at an abandoned training site the previous week, he began reading Elemental Manipulation and the Ring of Elements. He agreed with them that they hadn't left the house in a long time and then returned to his reading. After an hour or so of reading, Naruto abruptly jumped up, shocking Gyurfosu and Akajima. Turning to face his 2 devoted companions, Naruto said, "Okay guys, let's move out. We're going to see the old man." They all nod and make their way to the headmaster tower, curious to see what Naruto has read in his new scroll. It was a typical day for Naruto as he strolled through Leaf Village, save for a few glares and whispers. When he saw the headmaster tower, he accelerated his pace in expectation of receiving answers to his queries. When Naruto finally reached the tower, he sprinted toward the headmaster's office despite the secretary's cries that he is busy. "Sorry, I was in a hurry and really wanted to ask the old man about some stuff I found in this scroll I was reading. I didn't mean to bump into you, mister," Naruto said, bowing as he opened the door and saw the man with the gravity-defying silver, a leaf headband pulled over his left eye, and a mask covering the lower half of his face. Happily, the man wasn't glaring at him. "Copy ninja." He took a scroll out of his pocket and said, "I was reading this scroll and wanted to know if you could explain the concept of elemental core energy to me," not realizing the impact his words had on the remaining individuals in the room. "Yeah, copy ninja, this will only take a second I think. You can stay if you want, especially if you can answer my question," Naruto said as he walked towards the third headmaster. The third headmaster asked, really interested in what the young blonde wanted to know. "Sure, Naruto. What do you want to know?" "I wanted to ask you if you knew what the Ring of Elements is, how I find out what my element is, and if what it said in the scroll is true about put elemental core energy into a certain type of weapon can really augment it in certain ways." Naruto was really curious about the topic at hand. Now truly interested, Copy Ninja decided to step back into the room and answer for the headmaster. Well, Naruto, to answer your first question, the elements are fire, wind, lightning, earth, and water. The cycle goes like this. Fire beats wind but loses to water, wind beats lightning but loses to fire, lightning beats earth but loses to wind, earth beats water but loses to lightning, and water beats fire but loses to earth. With each element, if the spirit art used are the same skill level, the element that is greater wins, but if the weaker element is a higher ranked spirit art, the spirit art with negate each other. Yet, if the weaker element is a lower ranked spirit art, then there is a chance it will just strengthen the opposing spirit art. To answer your last question, yes, it is possible to channel your element through a weapon, but only if it has a special core energy conduction metal that is expensive and have a certain level of control or beyond on that element. Copy Ninja finished, slightly wondering where this would lead for the young blonde. What about my other question? How do I find out what element I possess? I believe that is where I come in during this situation, the third headmaster student said as he took out a tiny piece of 8x4 cardboard. You channel your core energy into this special piece of paper made from the bark of a special tree that reacts to core energy. Depending on how the paper reacts tells us what your primary element is. If your core energy is fire, the paper will burn. If it is wind, it will cut in half. If it is water, it will become damp. If it is lightning, it will crumple. And finally, if it earth, it will crumble and turn to dust, he said as he handed Naruto the paper. Okay, no problem, old man, Naruto said, closing his eyes and directing his inner might into the paper. The next sound he heard was a group gasp. When he opened his eyes and saw the wide-eyed, gaping faces of the copy ninja and third headmaster, he became alarmed. He looked down to discover that his paper had broken into 4 equal-sized pieces, with something different happening on each corner. The paper crinkled inward on one corner, had single markings from something burning on another, was moist on another, and looked to be covered in dust and grime on the final corner. He became anxious as he glanced back up at the third headmaster and the copy ninja, observing their still shocked expressions. He asked himself, did I do something wrong? What happened? Naruto, you didn't do anything wrong. We were just startled about the results. It is rare for a high ninja to have more than 2, let alone an academy student to have all 5. Yet, it does get me wondering on that question I asked you a few months ago. Did you ever ask the 9 beast whether or not it gave you a bloodline when it was sealed into you? Was the third headmaster's response to Naruto's anxious questions after he had finally collected himself. Naruto said, sorry, old man. I didn't figure out how to get into 9 beast seal without it wanting me until a couple of weeks ago. But if you want, I can ask it real quick. After giving his question some thought before turning to the third headmaster. I know you have questions, copy ninja, so you might as well ask them right now, the third headmaster said, nodding quickly as he watched Naruto cross over to the couch and sit in a meditative position for a few moments before turning to face the wide-eyed copy ninja. As his mind raced, copy ninja finally snapped out of his reverie and turned to face the professor who was about to speak. Do you truly believe the fox gave him a bloodline? On that note, when did he even find out about the fox and from whom? Copy ninja inquired. Observing the meticulously organized copy ninja, the third replied, he found out about the fox last year on his birthday when he fell asleep next to his 2 new ninkin after running from a mob, and I do believe the fox gave him a bloodline because neither of his parents had any bloodlines and he has the senses of smell and hearing that is on par, if not greater than, that of an Inuzuka, along with the ability to talk to foxes and wolves and have night vision. So let me get this straight, he can talk to foxes and wolves, see at night with perfect clarity, and have the hearing and smell of an Inuzuka, copy ninja said, reflecting on what he had just been told. Did I hear you right when you said he had ninkin? I have never seen him with any dogs, he said. When Akijima and Gyurfosu suddenly leaped onto the third headmaster student's desk, he pointed to them and stated, this is Akijima and this is Gyurfosu, Naruto's ninkin. Both ninkin then bowed to the copy ninja. Who said they were dogs? I guess that makes sense. After all, he can apparently talk to foxes and wolves. It would only make sense to use them as ninkin over that of dogs for him, copy ninja said after giving it some thought. Yet, you do realize that if the 9 beasts did give him a bloodline, there is a possibility that the council will want to put him in the CRA if he becomes a genin, right? He asked anxiously, glancing at Naruto. Third headmaster groaned as he lit his pipe and waited, saying, I suppose we will deal with that when it happens, but for now we will wait for him to return from his seal. They were unaware that the discussion between Naruto and the Nine Beasts was almost over. The voice of Naruto reverberated like a seal through the vast sewer. So you're saying that you did give me all of this as a bloodline? Yes, Naruto. I gave you a bloodline after all. I can't have a weak container, can I? The Nine Beasts' voice shouted in response to another booming voice. Before turning around, Naruto replied, I guess not. But still, I didn't know you could do that. That's pretty cool, honestly. I'm going to tell the old man what you told me. I'll see you later, Nine Beast, he added, waving before eventually regaining consciousness. He woke up to the third headmaster and copy ninja staring at him. After a moment of looking around, he said, hi, as soon as it came to him. So what did the Nine Beasts say? The third top master student asked the first, unaware that Naruto had just opened the floodgates for inquiries. After giving it some thought, Naruto stated to him what the mythical beast had told him. He told me that he gave me a bloodline when I was born because he couldn't have a weak container, Naruto concluded, using air quotes. I see, the third headmaster remarked, reflecting on the child's words. So, what does your bloodline do? He said, still intrigued by the child's talents. Naruto responded, picking at his ear, knowing the answer right away. He said that it is everything that you know about and then something about being able to create most sub-elements or something like that, he remarked. Now that the conversation was well underway, Copy Ninja's first question was, do you know any Nin spirit art, Naruto? Considering what the child could achieve if he could. Unfortunately, no, I don't know anything other than the substitution and transformation spirit arts. I can't seem to get the clone spirit art no matter how little core energy I put into it. I always seem to overpower it. I have too much core energy to do it, Naruto said, looking down with a dejected expression and shaking his head. Well, if you can't pass because of that spirit art, just come to the headmaster. I am more than sure he will probably pass you if you can use any other useful skills, Copy Ninja said, assuming the child was correct. Yeah, you're right, I'm gonna be fine. Thanks for the help, old man, Copy Ninja Sensei. I'll see you later. I've got some training to do. Come on, Akajima. Gyurfosu, we gotta go. Bye. Naruto stated, grinning broadly as he looked back up. Sensei would be proud of him. He has turned out better than we expected, Copy Ninja stated as he was leaving in a cloud of smoke. Yes, young Naruto will go far in this world, and you would be proud of your son, Minato? The third headmaster said, turning back to face the headmaster memorial through the window. As Naruto prepared for the final exam before becoming a genin, the week seemed to go by quickly. I am so excited. Upon arriving at class, Naruto thought, they're going to be so surprised at how good I am. Ha ha ha. The looks on their faces are going to be priceless. He glanced around and saw that everyone had arrived except for Sakura, Ino, Mizuki-sensei, and Irika-sensei. When he finally noticed Sasuke's normal empty seat, he went to take a seat just as the door suddenly flew open, causing Sakura and Ino to quarrel over who would sit next to their Sasuke. Since he was seated in the only seat next to her Sasuke, Naruto decided to get ready for the screeching when Sakura started approaching him after the argument was finally over. When he saw him glaring at him, he started to feel sorry for Sasuke because of his severe fangirl problem, saying, Man, I really don't envy the guys that have fangirls. These girls are fucking crazy. He had just finished thinking this when Sakura appeared. Sakura shouted, Move, idiot. Sasuke doesn't need you making him smell of a loser, expecting that simply by having Naruto move, he would. Naruto grinned as everyone, with the exception of Choji and Shikamaru, who were giggling, gaped in shock at him turning down Sakura. No, Sakura, I won't move. Besides, I doubt Sasuke want another fangirl swarming him all day long. I mean, even he needs a break sometimes, he replied. What's so funny, Shika? Naruto just did the unbelievable and rejected forehead girl, Ino said, glancing at the giggling Shikamaru seated next to her in the rear of the class. This only made Shikamaru laugh even harder until he turned to face Ino and remarked, Ino, What's so funny is that Naruto got over Sakura months ago. Hell, he was hitting on Kiba's older sister Hana earlier this week, and he wasn't doing that badly either. Oh yeah, I still need to get that bastard back for that, Kiba said as he turned to face Shikamaru. When I got home, Hana kicked my ass and said that I embarrassed her. Shikamaru gripped his side at this moment as his snickering evolved into full-fledged laughter. Oh, that's just great. Naruto didn't even realize he was doing it, but apparently that day he was at Kiba's clan's compound, he was exuding some kind of alpha male-like pheromone because apparently as he was walking he saw a lot of red faces from the girls and growls from the guys that were from our generation. Ino said, asking him what was so funny as he was quieting down. Irika-sensei shouted for everyone to stop talking and turn around just as Kiba was ready to respond to that. He heard Akijima say, "There's something off going on here. I can't figure out what it is, but it feels like something is wrong here," just before he started his test. Akijima and Gyurfosu finally leaped out of his coat and onto his head and shoulder. Following that, Naruto examined his test carefully and saw some hesitancy. Seeing that as an indication of spirit art, Naruto put his hands together and started channeling his core energy, which he then let explode outwards with a silent release, call to break the flow of his core energy and end the illusion. He started to consider that he should spend the rest of the day giving Mizuki more attention and getting him back later after realizing that he had passed the test and that no one else's had a Gen Spirit art on it. Irika instructed everyone to accompany Mizuki outside to complete their weapons and Tai Spirit art test so that he could mark their written tests once 30 minutes had elapsed and it was clear that everyone had finished. Having deliberately only answered 75% of his questions correctly, Naruto was eager to demonstrate his progress in both weaponry and Tai Spirit art. Aware that they were arranged alphabetically by last name, Naruto chose to relax beside a tree and observe the other. Sasuke just called over to throw 10 kunai and shuriken at the targets about 30 minutes later. The closer you hit the bullseye, the more points you receive. If you hit it, you receive 5. If you come within 1 foot, you receive 3. If you just hit the wood, you receive 1. If you miss, you receive none. Since he needed to pass with at least 60, Naruto knew he didn't need to worry. When Naruto heard applause, he looked up to see that Sasuke had received an 88 due to 14 bullseyes and 6 close shots. Knowing that it was his turn, Naruto stood up and stretched before making his way to the starting line to wait for the customary start. When he finally got it, Naruto cautiously and slowly picked up 3 of each of the kunai and shuriken, only to see them fly beyond the post. He squinted his eyes and stared at Mizuki, realizing that he had only used a wind gale palm since his palms were outstretched. Naruto scooped up the remaining kunai after deciding that holding back was no longer an option. When he turned around, Mizuki snorted and said, "Finally going to give up, brat? You wish I would just give up?" Naruto smirked as he snorted back and placed each kunai between his fingers. As he finished, he turned around and released each kunai in a single, fluid motion, letting them hit the bull's-eye one after the other within seconds of one another, each time with a hard thunk. He grabbed the last shuriken and performed the same fluid motion with the same thunk. When he turned back, he noticed that the other kids were staring at him with wide eyes, which made him ask, "What? You just got 14 straight bullseyes, while barely looking at the target, after you just missed 6 concentrated shots completely. Do you realize how unlikely that is?" Shikamaru was the first to say, giving him a deadpan smile. Naruto simply smiled at him and said, "Didn't I tell you in Choji on Monday that I was holding back all year? Besides, I would have gotten the first 6 too if it wasn't for some outside interference," glaring at Mizuki as he finished. "But hey, we all still have the Tai Spirit art practice, so it's all good," he said, smiling as he walked towards the Tai Spirit art ring, oblivious to Mizuki's glare or the gazes of the other students. After reaching the ring, Naruto made the decision to wait beside a tree once more until it was his turn, fully aware that it could hurt to hold back from Mizuki. The students must spar with their academy instructors in the ring for at least 2 minutes or get a hit within 5 minutes of beginning the exam's Tai Spirit art portion. They are not allowed to leave the ring. When Naruto finally heard his name, he climbed down from the tree and made his way to the ring where Mizuki was waiting for his test to begin. When Naruto entered the arena, he extended his back 2 feet apart and crouched down to where he was on all fours, peering up at Mizuki, after sensing an evil glimmer in his eye and choosing to begin in his fox position. How can you expect to last that long against me if you can't even do a correct Thai spirit art stance, right? I mean, that's a pretty bad version of the Inuzuka stance if that's what you are trying to do, Mizuki said, observing the stance and thinking how simple this could be. I mean, the demon isn't even using the right stance if he is trying to copy the Inuzuka, he said, preparing to dispel Naruto's confidence. That's the problem for you though, this isn't the Inuzuka stance, because if it was I would already have Akajima or Gyurfosu right next to me. No, this is my own stance, and it's not aimed to last, it's aimed to hit you, Naruto remarked in a confident voice. Mizuki glared at Naruto and replied, "Is that so, fox boy?" with a humorous tone. "If you are so sure you can hit me, then go ahead and try, because you will be done in just a minute," he remarked, but as soon as he was done, he took off, pursuing Naruto at a barely controlled pace. When Naruto realized that Mizuki would not hold back, he tensed up and narrowed his eyes, ready to strike back when Mizuki was within striking range. As soon as Mizuki was within a few feet of Naruto, he smirked to himself, assuming that hitting the demon brat would be simple. However, as he was about to react, he failed to notice a similar smirk on Naruto's lips. Mizuki leapt back from Naruto and was put on the defensive when, in a matter of seconds, Naruto was on him with an uppercut to the jaw that was blocked with his arms. When Mizuki finally came at Naruto, he broke hard and went in for a roundhouse kick to his head. What surprised him was that Naruto not only blocked his attack with his arm but also returned with his own roundhouse kick aimed at his midsection. When he finally caught movement again, Mizuki had to duck an incoming punch to the throat, only to realize too late that it was a feint when a hard knee was drilled into his gut, knocking the wind out of him. Mizuki had been nursing his arm, not expecting the blonde's unexpected strength, and was now cautious of the blonde's next move. Looking up, Mizuki saw Naruto's smiling face staring at him. The demon brat Small put him on stage, ready to attack again, but he decided against it at the last minute, realizing that all the other students were watching them closely. He silently vowed to get the blonde back with the exam's Nin Spirit Art section. Taking it easy on Ino, Mizuki called that section of the test over and led the class back to the exam room to wait for the next one. On the walk back, he would openly glare at Naruto, trying to think of a way to get even with him for the blow. When the class finally resumed its regular seating, everyone went back to their seats, and Mizuki went to Irika. Irika looked up to say, "Okay, that was good timing. I just finished grading your written portion. I hope everything went well." But as he finished, he noticed Mizuki's glare at Naruto. Choosing to just move on, he spoke again, saying, "Okay class, now it is time for the Nin Spirit Art part of the exam. Mizuki and I are going to call your names and have you come down to the designated room and perform the 3 necessary Academy Spirit Art for us. Now, on to the first person on the list, Shino Aburame," as he made his way to the designated room. About an hour later, Naruto finally heard Irika call his name. As he was walking down the hallway, he saw that the other students in his class had already passed and received their headbands. Excited to receive his own, Naruto headed for the door and loudly blasted it open. Irika grinned as he looked up to see a very eager Naruto standing in front of him, prepared to get started. "Hello Naruto, I need you to try the transformation, clone, and substitution spirit arts as soon as you're ready." "Okay, when you're ready," Irika said. When the sign started, Naruto made a single-handed sign and tried to change into the Sandame, but he realized that it wasn't working. Since he knew that even he didn't have enough control to do a transformation, he looked at Mizuki and saw a slight smirk on his face. Thinking that Mizuki was somehow interfering with his ability to control his core energy, Naruto thought, "So the bastard is going to try to stop me from graduating. For some reason I have a feeling he's planning something. I'll go along with you for the time being, but after that, if you are doing something fishy, I am going to stop you." He ended his thought process by pretending not to notice and telling Irika, "I guess I can't do the transformation right now, and I know I can't make a clone, so let me try the substitution." "Sorry Naruto, I can't let you pass if you can't even do 2 out of the 3 Academy Nin Spirit Art to pass. I am sorry but you fail," he concluded, his disappointment evident in his voice, knowing that this was ended. I got you now, you bastard, you have to be planning something and I am going to stop it. Somehow I know you plan on blaming it on me, so I will just wait for you. Naruto thought as he left the classroom, acting depressed and observing Mizuki's smirk widen as he did so. Thinking that there was only one possible explanation, Naruto went back to his thoughts. When he heard the knowing thumps of footsteps behind him, Naruto was not let down. An hour later, he was sitting on his own swing in the academy grounds, acting depressed, waiting for Mizuki to call him. Looking back, Naruto was struggling to contain a smirk as he saw Mizuki approaching him with a phony, sympathetic expression. Mizuki's next few words, "I am sorry, Naruto. Irika meant well when he failed you. I know that test meant a lot to you, so I know a way so that you can still pass," did not disappoint Naruto, who was sitting back and relaxing for a while. He waited a minute for the obvious answer. With a voice that only he knew indicated that he knew what Mizuki was going to do, Naruto asked, "Sweet Mizuki-sensei, what do I have to do?" "Well, I am going to have you take the extra genin test that we give to academy students like you. All you have to do is go to the headmaster tower and take the forbidden scroll from his office. You must learn one spirit art from it and return the scroll to me without being caught," Mizuki said, delighted with how simple this seemed to seem. "You have to bring it to me by 10 o'clock tonight by the old house in the middle of the woods over by the training grounds." Knowing full well that he was about to eliminate a traitor, Naruto nodded his head in a phony sense of enthusiasm and started for the headmaster tower. Leaping from rooftop to rooftop, Naruto eventually reached his destination and hurried to the old man's office. "Hey old man, I am pretty sure Mizuki is up to something. He messed with my core energy during the Nin spirit art test and sent me here to get the forbidden scroll and return it to him to become a genin. What do you think I should do?" he yelled as he slammed the door of the third headmaster's office and looked at the elderly student. The third headmaster student sent the boy off, looking back over the Leaf Village. "I think you should just follow this and see where it goes. By the sounds of it, it sounds like we have a traitor among us. Take the scroll. It is in the glass right there. Take it to your meeting place and make sure to capture the traitor for questioning. To make it believable, I am going to send fake search parties for your capture. Do not disappoint me, Naruto," he said. The third headmaster student thought, "I hope I'm doing the right thing here, because sending a boy to capture a central ninja is probably a traitor. I want you to make it back here safe, Naruto." He looked out to see Naruto with the scroll, running toward the training grounds. When Naruto finally arrived at the deserted house near the training grounds, he became bored and decided to investigate what was within the scroll. Upon opening it, he discovered several concealed spirit art pieces from the Leaf Village. "Oh great, another clone spirit art, might as well see what it says," Naruto thought as he looked at the first one, which he saw was dubbed the Shadow Clone Spirit Art. Upon re-examining it, Naruto made the decision to read about the spirit art's effects. His curiosity was piqued when he discovered that it only required one seal and that it created solid clones. He continued reading and discovered that, upon death, the clones returned any memories they had to the original and the other clones. Referring back to the title, he discovered that, due to the amount of core energy it consumed, it was a B-rank forbidden spirit art. In addition to having a lot of core energy to spare, I can definitely use this to train my spirit art and scout. Following that line of reasoning, he stood up and began to practice spirit art. When Naruto looked up some hours later, he realized that he had finally mastered it and that he could now create a shadow clone. He chose to dispel the clone and gaze at the newcomer just in time. When he realized it was Irika, he was horrified.